Do you want to kill us? Chike, please slow down. You are speeding too much.
Whispers of Secret Tales.
They say when a mother dreams, the spirits are whispering. But Onyinye thought her mother's dreams were only stories from the village moonlight. Little did she know, one dream would change her life forever. In the heart of Nosuka, where the red earth stained the souls of every barefoot child, lived Onyinye, a bright 20-year-old young woman with eyes full of ambition and a heart that raced faster than the village stream. She had just completed training college, earning praise from teachers and neighbors alike. Her dream was clear: to join the Nigerian Navy, serve her nation, and see the world beyond her small town. Her mother, Mama Uju, was proud but also cautious, the kind of woman who prayed before every sunrise and listened closely to her dreams. The sun dipped low behind the old training college buildings, painting the sky with streaks of orange and gold. Students laughed and hugged, their voices echoing through the courtyard. It was the last day of school. Certificates in hand, dreams in their hearts. Amara, always the lively one, ran up to Onyinye, nearly tripping over her sandals. Onyinye, she squealed, clutching her friend's arm. Can you believe it's over? No more early morning drills or boring lectures. Onyinye smiled, adjusting the small scarf on her neck. Finally, I can sleep past 5 for once. Amara giggled. Please, forget sleep. There's something more exciting. There's a party at Ken's place this weekend. Everyone from our class will be there. Music, food, everything. We must go. Onyinye frowned slightly. A party? You know my mother doesn't like such things. She'll say parties bring trouble. Amara rolled her eyes dramatically. Your mother says everything brings trouble. Onyinye, come on. We've worked hard for 2 years. We deserve one night of fun. Onyinye hesitated, tracing the edge of her certificate with her finger. I don't know, Amara. You know how strict she can be. If she even dreams about me going. Exactly. Amara cut in quickly, her eyes glinting with mischief. Speaking of dreams, did I tell you something? Chuka will be there. Onyinye's eyes lifted instantly. Chuka, as in Chuka Naji, the one from the debate team? Amara nodded with a sly grin. The same one who's always asking about you. Don't pretend you don't blush when he greets you. Onyinye's face warmed and she tried to hide a smile. Stop it, Joe. Amara folded her arms. Then it settled. You're coming. If you won't do it for yourself, do it for your girl who doesn't want to go alone. Onyinye sighed, pretending to think hard, but the flutter in her chest had already betrayed her. Fine, she said finally, laughing softly, but just for a few hours. Amara clapped her hands, beaming. That's my girl. You'll see, it will be the night of our lives. Neither of them knew how true those words would become, just not in the way they imagined. One night after, Mama Uju woke up screaming. She had seen a terrifying dream, her daughter trapped in a mangled car, crying for help, blood dripping onto the road. Trembling, she rushed to Onyeche's room, still clutching her rosary. Onyeche, my child, she cried. I saw you in danger. Don't go anywhere tomorrow. Promise me my daughter. But Onyinye, who had plans with her lively friend Amara, laughed gently. Mama, you worry too much. It's just a party, not a battlefield. You and your superstitions. Her mother begged, but Onyinye had already picked out her dress, a cute blue bodycon dress that shimmered like water in the sun. The moon hung low, full and pale, watching silently as Onyinye tiptoed across the small compound. Her mother's words echoed faintly in her mind. Onyinye, stay home tonight. I saw danger in my dream. She shook her head, pushing the thought away. It's just superstition, she told herself. At the junction, Amara was already waiting. dressed in a bright red dress that shimmered under the streetlight. When she spotted Onyinye approaching, her eyes widened. Ewo, Onyinye, she exclaimed, twirling her friend around. You look beautiful. Chuka will lose his mind when he sees you. Onyinye laughed shyly. Stop teasing me, I beg. Let's just go before I change my mind. They flagged down a taxi and squeezed into the back seat, giggling like schoolgirls as the wind from the open window danced through their hair. The city lights of Unugu flickered past, tall trees, quiet shops, and distant music filling the warm night air. When they arrived at Eni's house, Onyinye froze for a moment. The mansion stood proudly with tall iron gates and cars parked along the street. Laughter and Afrobeat music floated into the night. Wow, Onyinye whispered. Ene's people are rich, oh. Amara grinned. That's why we're here, my dear. Enjoyment. Inside, the party was alive. Boys in fine shirts, girls with sparkling dresses, dancing, shouting, and snapping pictures. Chuka spotted Onyinye and waved from across the room. Her heart skipped. Amara nudged her, whispering, See, I told you. They danced until sweat glistened on their foreheads. For the first time in a long while, Onyinye felt free, like the world was big and open and nothing could touch her. Later that night, Amara returned from the drinks table holding 2 plastic cups of punch. Guess what? Chike said he'll drop us off after the party. No need to call a taxi. Onyinye frowned slightly. Chike, they weren't drinking since we came. Amara rolled her eyes. Onyinye, don't start. He only had 2 bottles of beer. He's fine. I don't know, Onyinye murmured, glancing across the room. Chike was laughing loudly, swaying a little as he poured himself another drink. Relax, Amara said, linking arms with her. He's a big boy. He can handle it. When the party finally began to die down, Chike jingled his car keys. Ladies, let's go before the security throws us out. Amara pulled Onyinye along. See, our ride is ready. Outside, the night was quiet except for crickets and the distant hum of the city. Onyinye hesitated beside the car. Amara, maybe we should just call a cab, she said softly. Amara sighed. Don't be dramatic. Chike is fine. Look, the car is big. We'll be comfortable. They crammed into the back seat with 2 others, laughter bubbling again as the car roared to life. Onyinye sat by the window, holding her clutch tightly, glancing at Chike's eyes in the rearview mirror. They looked too bright, too eager. The car sped down the dark, narrow road, the music blasting. Onyinye leaned forward nervously.
Chike, please slow down. We're going home, not chasing thieves.
But Chike only laughed and pressed the pedal harder.
Relax, Onyinye. The road is clear.
Chike was singing along to the music, speeding down the narrow road. The girls were laughing. And just like that, the laughter turned into screams as headlights appeared suddenly from the opposite lane. Too close, too fast. A loud boom echoed through the quiet night as the car swerved violently. Chike had lost control. The world spun. Glass shattered like rain. Darkness swallowed everything. When Onyinye opened her eyes, pain shot through her body. Her right leg was trapped under the crushed car door. She could hear Amara crying beside her, the metallic taste of blood in the air. People around came running. The car was destroyed, the once beautiful blue gown now soaked in red. That night, while the rest of the village slept, Mama Uju couldn't find rest. She had called Onyinye twice around 10:30 p.m. No answer. By 11 p.m., she called again, still nothing. Her hands trembled as she redialed Amara's number. Pick up, Biko. Onyinye, Amara. She muttered under her breath, pacing the narrow corridor of their small bungalow. Her husband, Papa Uju, half asleep, called out from the bedroom, "Uju, come to bed. Onyinye is fine. You worry too much." But she shook her head. "Something is not right," she whispered. "A mother knows." She called again and again, 5, 6 times, until her airtime finished. By now, her wrapper had come loose, her eyes red from fear. She stepped outside, staring down the dark road, as though expecting to see her daughter walk home. Hours later, around 2 a.m., the shrill ring of the house phone broke the silence. She jumped. "Hello?" "Good evening, Ma. This is Dr. Ahmed from Holy Cross Hospital. Are you the mother of Miss Onyinye Uju?" Mama Uju's heart froze. Yes, I am. What happened?" "Your daughter was involved in a car accident. Please come immediately." Her scream tore through the house like thunder. "Chineke, my daughter!" Papa Uju stumbled out of bed, alarmed. "What is it?" "She's in the hospital, Onyinye. Accident." They dressed in haste, barely tying their wrappers properly, and rushed into the cold night. The drive felt endless. Mama Uju clutched her husband's arm the entire way, praying under her breath, "God, please, not my child." When they arrived, the hospital corridors smelled of antiseptic and fear. Nurses moved briskly. Somewhere down the hall, a patient groaned in pain. A doctor approached them quietly. "Your Onyinye's parents?" "Yes, doctor," Papa Uju replied. "Where is she?" The doctor hesitated. "She's in surgery. We had to amputate her left leg to save her life. She lost a lot of blood." Mama Uju gasped, her knees buckling. No, my baby, her leg." Papa Uju caught her. She sobbed uncontrollably. The doctor gently added, "We did our best. She's alive, and that's what matters." Hours later, Onyinye woke up slowly. Her eyes fluttered open to the white ceiling, the beeping of machines, and the dull ache that ran through her body. She tried to move her leg, but felt nothing. Confused, she pulled the sheet aside and froze. Her scream pierced the quiet ward. "My leg! Mama, my leg!" Mama Uju was at her side in seconds, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Ne, please, be calm. You are alive. That's what matters." Onyinye turned to her mother, eyes wide with terror. "Amara? Where's Amara? She was with me. Is she okay?" The room fell silent. The nurse at the corner lowered her head. Mama Uju couldn't speak. The doctor stepped forward, his face heavy with sorrow. "I'm sorry, Onyinye. Your friend Amara didn't survive the crash." Onyinye's world shattered. Her heart pounded painfully in her chest as the words sank in. No, she can't be gone. She was right beside me," she whispered, breaking into sobs. Papa Uju stood by the bedside, holding back tears. He plugged up the courage and said, "My daughter, it is well. You are alive. I thank God for that." Mama Uju pulled her close, rocking her gently like a child. "You see, my daughter, a mother's warning is not superstition. It's love wearing a voice." Onyinye wept until there were no tears left, the sound of a broken dream echoing in the sterile hospital room. Weeks turned to months. Onyinye sat in a wheelchair, staring out her window. She could not attend her graduation as she was still in hospital at the time. She watched her friends post their pictures and videos on social media and felt a deep pain for what she was going through. Amara had been buried. It felt as though a piece of her was gone, not just her leg. The dream of joining the Navy vanished like smoke. After a while, friends stopped visiting. The laughter that once filled her life had gone silent. Mama Uju cared for her tenderly, never once saying, "I told you so." But Onyinye felt the weight of her mother's warning every time she looked at her missing leg. Then, one evening, her mother's friends came to visit. He told Onyinye, "Child, when mothers dream, the ancestors speak. You did not lose your life because your mother's prayers built a wall around your soul." That night, Onyinye wept again, not from pain but from understanding. She comforted her and mentioned to her not to give up in life, that there was a community health outreach being organized soon, and it would be a great idea for her to step out of the house and breathe some fresh air. In life, challenges may come, yet we must find the courage to keep living. Mama Uju thanked her friend and they said their goodbyes. Months later, after countless sessions of physiotherapy and long nights of tears, Onyinye began to find small pieces of herself again. Her crutches had become both a burden and a badge of survival. Mama Uju would often watch her daughter from the veranda, her face still young, but her eyes older than her years, and whisper silent prayers of gratitude. One bright Saturday morning, a community health outreach was held at the town hall. The event was organized for people living with disabilities, free checkups, counseling, and vocational training awareness. Onye didn't want to go at first. "Mama, people will stare," she said quietly. "Let them stare," Mama Uju replied gently, adjusting her scarf. "You survived what many could not. Walk with your head high, Nne." At the event, after the health talk, Onye sat alone under a mango tree, watching a group of volunteers setting up a demonstration. One of them stood out, a tall young man in a crisp navy blue polo with the Nigerian naval emblem on the sleeve. He moved with quiet confidence, even though there was a noticeable limp in his left leg. He approached her with a warm smile. "You don't like crowds either, huh?" She looked up, a bit startled. "Something like that," she said softly. "I'm Obina," he said, offering his hand. "Used to be in active service until a blast injury took this leg." He tapped his metal brace lightly with a chuckle. "Now I train others to stay strong, and sometimes I just tell stories." Her lips curved slightly. "I'm Onyinye. I had an accident too." "I can tell," he said gently. "But I can also tell you're not the type to give up." That day marked the beginning of a quiet friendship. Obina visited often, sharing stories of courage from the naval base and introducing her to the government's Women Empowerment and Disability Skills Program. He saw in Oyiye a light that refused to be snuffed out, and she found in him a steady voice that reminded her she was more than her loss. Under Obina's encouragement, Oyiye enrolled in the program. She learned tailoring, digital literacy, and public speaking. Soon, her voice became her strength. She began speaking at schools and churches, telling young girls, "Listen to your parents. Their worry is love. Life can break you, but you decide if it ends you." Her story spread. The girl who lost her leg but found her purpose. A year later, Onyinye and Obina were invited to speak at a youth empowerment event in Enugu. As they mingled after their presentations, a young man approached Obina with a surprised smile. "Obina, it's been years. You probably don't remember me. I'm Kenechukwu." Obina blinked in recognition. "Kene? From Nusuka? Wait, Amara's brother?" Onyinye froze where she stood. The name hit her like a cold wave. "Did you say Amara?" Kenechukwu turned to her, puzzled. "Yes, she was my younger sister. You knew her?" Tears welled up in Onyinye's eyes. "She was my best friend," she whispered. "We were in that accident together." The moment hung heavy in the air. Obina's smile faded as realization dawned. Wait, Amara was your sister? He asked slowly. She was my cousin. Her father and my mother are siblings. The three of them stood silent for a moment, the coincidence too strange, too perfect. Onyinye's hands trembled. So, all this time, you're Amara's cousin? Obina nodded, still stunned. I had no idea. Maybe she sent me to you. A soft wind blew through the open hall just then, rustling the curtains. For a moment, Onyinye felt it, that familiar warmth, like Amara's laughter echoing faintly in her ear. She looked up, tears sliding down her cheeks, but this time she smiled. She did, she said quietly. Amara sent me a helper from the grave. Obina took her hand gently, and in that silent understanding, both of them knew that healing sometimes comes disguised, not as a miracle, but as a person who helps you believe again. The sun had barely risen over Nsuka when Onyinye wheeled herself across the stage of the town's newly built youth center. The banner above her read in bold blue letters, "The Amara Foundation for Road Safety and Youth Empowerment." Cameras flashed. Students in white uniforms sat in rows, their curious faces reflecting admiration and sadness. Beside her stood Obina, now dressed in his naval officer's ceremonial white, the gleam of his medals catching the light. He leaned toward Onyinye and whispered, "She would be proud of you." Onyinye smiled, her heart swelling with emotion. "Of us," she corrected softly. She took the microphone, her voice steady but filled with emotion. 2 years ago, she began, I lost my best friend, Amara, in an accident that changed my life forever. That night, we thought we were simply going to a party, but we were really walking into a lesson. The hall grew silent. You could hear the distant hum of the generator and the soft rustle of the students' uniforms. My mother warned me not to go that night. I called her superstitious. She paused, her voice trembling slightly. But mothers see things we cannot. I didn't listen, and that mistake cost me my leg and my friend's life. She turned slightly to look at Obina, her expression tender. But life has a strange way of sending us second chances. I met someone who taught me that even after loss, purpose can be born again. What I thought was the end was really the beginning of a calling. Obina took the microphone next. Too many lives are lost on our roads because of reckless driving and lack of awareness. This foundation will work with schools, communities, and drivers to educate our youth about road safety and responsible living. We will also train young people with disabilities so they know their dreams don't end with tragedy. The crowd broke into applause. Mama Oju, seated in the front row with tears in her eyes, clutched her husband's hand. Our daughter, she whispered proudly, has become light. When the ceremony ended, Onyinye and Obina stepped outside into the golden afternoon. Near the foundation's newly planted memorial garden stood a stone plaque engraved with Amara's name. Onyinye went close to it, laying a single white rose.
Thank you for not leaving me empty-handed, my friend. You sent me someone who helped me find myself again.
Obina stood quietly behind her. She lives through your voice, Onyinye. Every time you speak, Amara speaks too. A soft wind swept through the garden, rustling the rose petals. For a brief, unexplainable moment, Onyinye could have sworn she heard Amara's laughter again, faint but unmistakable, like the sound of peace. And in that moment, she knew the accident had broken her body, but it had also awakened her destiny. When a mother warns, it is not fear, it is love speaking in the language of the ancestors. Sometimes disobedience does not kill the body, but it wounds the destiny. And so, the people of Nsuka would tell their children under the moonlight, when your mother dreams, listen, for her dreams may be the bridge between you and tomorrow. What do you think of this story? What lessons do you learn from it? Comment below. Kindly like, subscribe, and share. And a big happy birthday to all December borns. May the joy of the season extend to you. Thank you.